Now to developing news on a central figure in the Russia investigation.
Former Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort could be facing life in prison. A judge voided Manafort's plea deal, ruling he lied to investigators intentionally and repeatedly. KCAL 9 political reporter Dave Bryan has the late details on this developing story. Dave?
Yeah, goodbye leniency deal, and that may mean he'll get a long sentence, possibly waiting and hoping for a presidential pardon. He's already facing sentencing on 10 criminal counts, but now Paul Manafort, convicted on several fraud counts, is in even more hot water after a court ruling today that Manafort lied to the FBI, the special counsel's Russia investigation team, and to a grand jury, erasing a leniency agreement with prosecutors. Now, the judge's ruling may raise more questions about possible collusion. The ruling Wednesday by a federal judge in Washington could mean President Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, will be spending the rest of his life in jail. And it may also raise further questions about whether there was in fact collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian meddlers in the 2016 presidential election. Manafort cut a deal in September to cooperate with the collusion investigation headed by special counsel Robert Mueller. But after the judge's ruling today that Manafort lied multiple times to prosecutors, that deal is off. And prosecutors won't be asking the judge for leniency in sentencing Manafort. The judge ruled that Manafort lied to special counsel Mueller's investigators on several occasions, lied about his contacts with a Russian associate during the presidential campaign and after the election. In fact, last month, Manafort's lawyers accidentally revealed in a court filing that the special counsel had evidence Manafort shared campaign polling data with that associate. It was believed to be the first time a Trump campaign official was charged with sharing campaign information with Russian allies. Prosecutors charged the associate, Konstantin Kilimnik, worked closely with Manafort for years to promote Russian-backed Ukrainian interests and is believed to have had strong ties to Russian intelligence services and may have played a role in Russia's secret campaign to influence the presidential election results. Those details about Manafort and Kilimnik were revealed in a filing by Manafort's defense attorneys last month and were supposed to be redacted, but because of a cut-and-paste mistake, they could clearly be read. Senator Richard Blumenthal told CNN that Manafort's motive for keeping his connections with Kilimnik secret are still not entirely clear.
The question is, why did he lie about it? Was it just that he was a congenital liar, or because he was engaged in a cover-up that potentially was encouraged by others involved, whether it was Roger Stone or others who are Trump associates, giving rise to the clear impression they lied because they thought maybe they were breaking the law. That's why people lie about things.
You're selling America out to the Russians. Traitor!
Manafort was convicted on charges of tax and bank fraud last year. Tonight's developments follow months of declarations from President Trump and his allies that there is not a shred of evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians.
Because there was no collusion.
There is not a single bit of evidence the President of the United States committed the only crime you could commit here, conspired with the Russians to hack the DNC.
We have no factual evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
Now, Manafort is scheduled to be sentenced by U.S. District Court Judge Amy Berman Jackson, who made today's ruling, next month on 2 conspiracy counts. But in a related case, Manafort is also awaiting sentencing on 8 other fraud convictions. And with the special counsel cooperation deal for leniency now off the table, Manafort's last and best hope is for a presidential pardon. Sharon, back to you.
All right.